2013 was a real Murphy's Law kind of year for me. I was forced to face my lifelong worst fear head on, and at times I really had to wonder if I was going to make it in one piece.
It was obvious that she needed a real friend, someone that could show her how to laugh again and provide some emotional support while she put the pieces of her shattered world back up together.
Charles was always there for me to talk to online, but he was still thousands of miles away on the opposite end of the country. It was sometimes difficult for me to think of him as a real person, let alone a real friend.
The solution seemed easy. I'd been missing life in the big city ever since the army, and Vegas seemed like a good as city as any to relocate to. But Lindsay insisted that I visit first.
When I was 19, I moved to Chicago without ever having been there, and I'd been miserable, so I didn't want to see him make the same mistake with Vegas.
Our birthdays are only 2 weeks apart, so I decided to fly out for a week of mutual celebration.
In the movies, when two people meet for the first time in a public place, they usually prearrange some kind of signal, like wearing a red hat or carrying a yellow umbrella, but we'd neglected to make any such kind of arrangement.
She went to the wrong passenger pickup, and I had to traverse the entire airport to find her.
When I first spotted him, it was through a window from a distance of at least 150 yards, and I was a floor above him. He was wearing a dark windbreaker, a blue baseball cap, and dragging a teal suitcase on wheels.
I couldn't see her at all from where I was at that point.
I don't know how I knew it was him, but somehow I just did. It was like a memory from a past life recognized him with a sixth sense that all of us have, but none of us are consciously aware of.
When I saw her, it felt more like I was reuniting with an old friend after a very long separation, rather than meeting a new friend for the very first time.
I'd put together a whirlwind tour of Vegas for him that week, from the glitz and glamour of the Strip to a midnight bonfire on the beaches of Lake Mead.
There was even a place that made me wear a hospital gown over my clothes while a female dwarf in a nurse costume spanked me with a wooden paddle. But one of the highlights that I always think of first was the Tournament of Kings at the Excalibur.
The entire arena was sectioned off in various regions named after countries like Ireland or Germany. But our region was different. Instead of cheering for a country, we were cheering for Team Dragon.
The show is designed to be highly interactive, where you eat the entire meal with your fingers while cheering for the knight who represents your region and booing the others.
We're both suckers for all things fantasy and medieval, but I wasn't entirely sure at first if Charles was really as into the idea of watching a joust as I was, or if he was just going along with it because it was something that I'd been wanting to do ever since I was a little girl.
It was like living a dream that I'd had since I was a kid, and we threw ourselves wholly into the experience, banging our empty soup bowls on the table in applause, joining the songs and rally cries, better than any mainstream sporting event.
When I heard him enthusiastically booming "Dragon" in his thunderous voice, I could tell that he was loving the experience every bit as much as I was.
It was the most fun I'd had in a very long time, and I think she was actually enjoying it just as much as I was,
When dinner was served, I gave him my roll.
and I gave her my broccoli.
It wasn't awkward at all. In fact, it was then that I realized just how natural I felt around him.
Like I could really be myself without judgment,
All of the nerdy things that I'd enjoyed alone throughout my life.
were all the things that Lindsay and I have in common.
It would be a very long time before I was ready to admit it to myself or anyone.
It was scary to realize, especially given the circumstances, but
I
I
fell
fell
in
in
love
love
with
with her
him
that
that
week.
week.